There's not going to be many debates.
Welcome and thank you for being here. My name is Alpha Stevens and I am the president of the League of Women Voters of Anne Arundel County. Our county league, together with the Anne Arundel County branch of the NAACP, sponsors this evening's forum as a public service to the citizens of Annapolis. We are also delighted to have with us our videographer, Mark Goldberg, and WNAV Radio, who will be broadcasting live tonight and streaming live via their website, WNAV.com. We welcome you and we thank you for being with us tonight. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization whose purpose is to promote informed and active participation of citizens in government, empowering voters and making democracy work for all. As an organization, the League does not support or oppose political candidates or parties ever. Candidate forums sponsored by the League of Women Voters follow strict guidelines to ensure that all candidates are treated equitably and provide voters with candidates' answers on a diverse range of topics. Our moderator will explain the rules and format of the evening for our candidates. Ground rules for the audience are printed on the back of your program, 3 of which bear repeating. Please silence all cell phones. Audience use of cameras and audiovisual recording equipment is prohibited. Any cameras or recording devices you see being used belong to or should belong to the League's videographer and the media covering this event. Kindly refrain from applauding during the forum or in other ways demonstrating support or non-support for a candidate. Please hold all applause until the end. If you have questions for the candidates, you should have an index card in your seat, and please write your question there and someone will collect it. Just raise your hand and someone will collect the question card. Now that we have the ground rules down, it gives me great pleasure to introduce and welcome Josh Kurtz, who's once again agreed to be our moderator. Mr. Kurtz is the founding editor of Maryland Matters, a nonpartisan, nonprofit news website about Maryland government and politics. He is a veteran reporter of Maryland government and politics and has been writing about state and local politics since 1995. We certainly appreciate your generosity of time and past experience as moderator for our events. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Kurtz.
Thank you, President Stevens. Good evening, everybody. Thanks so much for inviting me. Always happy to do these kind of events. And, you know, I think mainly we should just plan to have some fun and learn some things tonight. So welcome to you all and welcome to the candidates. President Stevens laid out a bunch of the rules for the audience. And just a reminder, you've got index cards there. If you have questions, write them down legibly, please. And they'll be collected. These good folks over here will sift through them. And that's really the drill. Each candidate is going to be allowed 2 minutes to respond to questions. You can direct questions to both or to one, but if you're directing a question to one of the candidates, we will afford the other candidate an opportunity to respond or weigh in a certain way. And that's it. The candidates are going to be allowed to give opening statements and of a few minutes, and then closing statements as well. And we have a couple of timekeepers here seated in front of you, so they will keep you apprised of how much time you have and how you're doing, and I think that's about it. Other than let me quickly introduce the candidates, who I'm sure most of you know. To my immediate right is Steven Strawn, the Republican nominee. Please, yes. We were told to hold. No, I think let's applaud now and then applaud at the end. That sounds good. So he's been involved in the community in many different ways, as a business person, as involved in youth sports. He's run different companies, including an athletic company, and he's been chair of the Annapolis Republican Central Committee. So he's been involved civically, politically, and as a business leader. So welcome, Mr. Strawn. And then to my far right is Mayor Gavin Buckley, the Democratic nominee. Mr. Buckley is completing his first term as mayor. He's most known in the community prior to being mayor for the restaurants and businesses that he started and ran on West Street, and was integrally involved with the revitalization of West Street over the past several years. But I think probably we'd rather hear them talk about themselves than me talk about them. So I think we forgot to flip a coin. So, but without, did we decide, is Mayor Buckley going to begin?
That's fine.
All right.
How many
Mayor
minutes
Buckley.
do we have first?
I think we're going to have. I think we have about 3 minutes for these, and then we'll have 3 at the end as well. Oh, 2 minutes for these, and 3 at the end. Okay, 2. I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor.
So welcome everybody. Thank you so much for being here tonight. It's exciting to see this many people out here. I feel like I'm coming home. One of the first debates I did was right here 4 years ago, and I didn't know a lot then. So I can tell you I'd made a fair bit of it up. I've been in office now for 4 years, and I want to thank you for letting me be your mayor for the last 4 years. I ran on 4 things. I ran on the economy, the environment, and creating a better Annapolis, a one Annapolis. I like to think that COVID is a good example of what we've done for the economy of this city. During a crisis that was not only a health crisis but could have been also an economic crisis, we stepped up as a city. We partnered with our county, we partnered with our state partners to get resources to businesses so that we would not have people on the streets unemployed, for example. If some of these businesses that had to shut down completely, it would have drastically affected the economy. So is it only 2 minutes on the, I'm sorry, is it only 2 minutes on the opening?
2 minutes, yeah.
Okay. So we responded on that. On the environment, we have an impeccable record in the city. We have some of the highest standards in the country for stormwater, for tree replacement, for multiple things on the economy. I believe I've been an environmental mayor, and my record shows that. And on One Annapolis, this city is more inclusive because I'm in office. We are the first city that has representation, diverse representation in its executive piece. It also has diverse representation in its police force, more than it's ever had in history. And we also have done things like the first Pride Parade, the first Hispanic liaison. And on 2 minutes, I'm going to finish with that, but I could talk all night about the things that we've done. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Strawn.
I'm Steven Strawn. Some of you know me, a lot of you don't. I was born in a little town just south of here called Washington, D.C. I was raised in, 5745 Chilham Heights Drive, apartment 304. So I'm not far from here. I came up in horses. I've bought and sold horses my whole life, cattle. I came here, well, excuse me, I had a son. I started doing volunteer work with him, coaching his teams, going to his school. I volunteered for 6 years. I went there 1 day a week, and that was Tuesday. I stayed there all day long, and I learned all about the school system. And I tell you what, I don't know how much we pay our teachers, but it's not enough. I got married, I got married, I had a son. She left when he was 2 years old. I raised him myself, and like I said, I volunteered at the school. We got into baseball, and that's how I got into the company that I'm in now, because he was into baseball. I coached at Montgomery College. I coached at Maryland University. Then I moved here. I got involved in sports here. I've coached at Broadneck. I've coached at Annapolis. I coached really all over here. I also did, 30 seconds. Wow, that went fast. I also volunteered at the Bay Theater, which just became, it was a Helen Hayes Award winning theater. And then I got into politics, and I'm running for mayor. So thank you.
Thank you.
Stop before you throw me.
Well, yeah, you don't get extra points for stopping a second
Yeah, but
early,
you
but
gotta chop
it's
it
still noteworthy. So already I see we have like a wild variety of questions, and so I fear we might be jumping around from topic to topic a bit, but I already have a handful in my hand here. And remember, your answer, you have 2 minutes for your answers. Since COVID is kind of uppermost on everyone's minds still, let's start with this one, which is how have you handled, or in Mr. Strawn's case, how would you have handled questions of masking, vaccine mandates, and testing? And, you know, this can be a little bit forward-looking and a little bit retroactive, but why don't you begin, Mr. Strawn, and then we'll go to the mayor. Do
you mean statewide? If it's statewide,
well,
I thought it was perfect.
I think, you know, just what's appropriate in the community, I guess.
I thought it was perfect. The vaccinations were held. They were great. The masking was great. What people don't understand is I've been labeled an anti-vax. I'm a child of vaccines. I got polio. In fact, I've probably been vaccinated more than 90% of you in here. Now, the first thing I did was I talked to my doctor, and he told me, hey, be careful what you do with this one, because you know, well, my health record. So that's why, and I know they're going to bring it up, that I didn't get a vaccine. I've always made sure that, and I didn't want any of that to come out, but the Gazette has run 2 articles on it now, so I might as well get it out in the open. This was a personal decision. I've always masked. I've always taken tests, and in fact, my latest test came up, no COVID. So I do everything that I can to go with all of the guidelines. As far as what I would do differently, probably not much. It was all pretty much, you know, straightforward. There's nothing much more than you can do except follow the guidelines.
Mr. Mayor?
Can I ask you when you got your last test?
2 days ago.
Okay, thank you. So...
Dun, dun, dun!
You got me.
Yeah, when was the last time you had yours?
A few months ago.
A few months ago? Well, I thought it was only for 2 months.
What science do you believe says only 2 months?
Exactly. I don't know. All the science is different. Everyone you ask, every place you go, it's completely different.
Well, I'm going to go with the Fauci science. Will you go with that?
Yeah. Well, I'll go with whatever. Go ahead. Give them your best shot.
So I'm proud of the city, the job the city did in the face of COVID. Nobody ever thought we would be looking down the barrel at a pandemic. This city stepped up. The city employees stepped up to do an excellent job. Our state partners and our county partners came forward to make sure that we got resources to communities that didn't have the resources that some of us are lucky enough to have. So immediately we took testing into some of our Hispanic communities because we knew people in those communities might not have health insurance, might not have healthcare providers. I remember the first day, the first set of tests we did in parole, we ran out of tests and the health officer had to go back to headquarters and bring more tests in for people. And throughout the pandemic, we've always brought resources to people that need them, whether it's testing resources, whether it is food drives. This city was a model for the country on how to tackle the COVID-19 pandemic. So we stayed out as a state and as a county and as a city. We stayed out of the red most of the year except for 2 months when everybody came back from the holidays. So we had high testing rates, and now I'm proud of our vaccination rates. We have over 70% of people vaccinated in the state, the city, and the county. A little less than that on 2 shots. But it's because we have believed in the science, because we've been different to the states that you see around the country that are denying the science and the governors that are denying it. And Maryland should be proud of the job that it's done. So we are leaders in the country, and we'll continue to be leaders on health.
Thank you. We've had a few. We have a few questions already about taxes in the city, and one is directed directly at you, Mr. Mayor, but obviously Mr. Strawn will have an opportunity to weigh in too. And this particular question says, how will you handle structural deficits in the city without raising taxes?
So the only time we've had a structural deficit since I've been in office is last year when COVID happened. We spend what we make. That's what you're supposed to do in government. You're not supposed to spend above that. So we have not had a structural deficit since I've been here. We have reserves from the federal government that will plug any holes that we need to in this next term. But I think that our economy is strong here. Our main revenue is from property tax. 70% of our revenue is from property tax. And our property is valuable, is going up all the time. It's a desirable place to live. Everybody is moving to Annapolis because it's one of the best places to live in America. So we have a strong economy. We have a strong business sector in the city. I've said that I will not raise taxes. I will not vote to raise taxes in the second term. I will stay with that because I have confidence that we're in a good place as a city because we've managed the city well. When I came into office, it wasn't managed well, and that was not just because of the last mayor, it was the mayors before that. We had unfunded pensions, we had unfunded post-employment benefits, we had a $2 million revolving fund. No departments had to stick to their budget. We brought in a city auditor with 30 years experience, and I'll sit down with anybody that wants to debate this and tell you that the city's finances are in a good way, and Moody's has rewarded us with the highest bond rating the city's had in its history. If I was mismanaging the finances, that would not have happened. So we are in a sound place, and we couldn't move forward with all these big ideas until we had a solid budget, a foundation to build on. We built that foundation. We're moving forward with some very dynamic things in the city, and I'm proud of the job we've done on that.
Mr. Strawn, could you just move your mic a little closer to yours? There you go.
Well, he's always throwing this Moody's out there about A1, but what he doesn't tell you is that that's that's a credit rating. That is not a management rating. That is how well he can tax you to get any debt that we pay. How well he can tax you so that we can pay the debts. It's like saying, hey, I won a dance contest and hold up a seed spitting trophy and go, oh, I hope they don't read the fine print. I mean, that's what he's doing. He's flam-flamming you whenever he tells you that this is a rating of how good management it is. It's not. It's how well he taxes you. And he's taxing you. It's taxation without really good representation. He also has a deficit next year of $2 million that he's not telling you about. And then the next year after that, it goes up to $10 million. I was just told that by an alderman 2 nights ago, which you can sit here and you can pull the numbers this way and pull the numbers that way. But that's the truth. So don't fall for everything that he says about auditing and about this, and he'll sit up here and debate. Well, that's all he can do is debate. because he knows the truth, and I just told it to you. Thank you.
So, Mr. Strawn, the mayor said he basically is ruling out a tax increase if he has a second term. You're doing the same if you're elected
Oh, yeah,
mayor?
yeah. Well, what gets me is he ruled out a tax increase in his first term. But what he does is
That's
he
not
blames
true.
everybody. Yes, it is. It's
Right.
You ran on that, and so did the city council. Yes, they did. I've got a picture of you. Forget it.
All right.
I'll tell you
Okay.
exactly. I'll tell you exactly what happened. So I said I don't want to raise taxes.
But this is this not
I
my
didn't
time?
say.
Is this not my time?
Let's
raised him
let's
3
allow
times.
the mayor 15
Okay,
seconds
you raised
here.
him 3 times.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
That's not true.
Yes, it is.
Steve
All
wouldn't
right.
know the truth if it hit him in the face.
Yeah.
So he wouldn't know
And
a
it's hitting
budget.
me in the face, right?
He wouldn't know a
It just went
budget if you
over
put one
my
in
head.
All
front of
right.
him.
Unfortunately, this is not really a format
No, it's not.
for
It's
engaging
not.
one another.
It's
so,
not. If he wants to attack what I know and what I don't,
Well, we can go to the parking lot.
there we go.
All right. We have a question for you, Mr. Strawn.
Yes.
I guess you've claimed that the city council has given themselves 3 pay raises during the pandemic.
Mhm.
What's your evidence of that? What's your reference for that?
Is that they gave themselves 3 pay raises? I mean, what evidence do you have? They voted themselves pay raises. Oh, she has an article.
All right. There you go.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay.
I mean, I can answer if you want.
Yeah, please.
So the city council, not the mayor, voted for a pay increase. Any of you that want to run for city council, you know how hard that is. City councillors are available, 40, 80 hours a week. They do a ton of work. They make $15,000. So they have voted for a tax increase. I voted against that tax increase for themselves, and it's phased in over the next 4 years. And even if they make $18,000, it's still not enough money for the job they do. It's a really, really hard job. So I respect how hard the councillors work, and I think they deserve every penny of that.
But didn't you just say that you were against it?
So I
So
said
why
I
would you
didn't
be
vote
against
for
He
it.
didn't-
If you're for it.
He said it was a council.
Oh,
a
then I
council.
misunderstood.
All right. Let's turn to affordable housing. The question here, and we'll start with Mayor Buckley. The question here is, do you believe accessory dwelling units will adequately address the number of affordable housing units needed for workers in the city? And what other solutions do you offer for addressing the affordable housing crisis in the city?
Yeah, so we have an affordable housing crisis for sure. And accessory dwelling units are not the answer, but they're part of the answer. Any smart cities conference you go to, you know that kind of granny flats, student housing behind housing is a good thing. I support it. Not all the council support it. That's okay. I have pushed early on for rebuilding Newtown, but we didn't add any units there. We should have had the ability to add units, but I needed to get that replaced as quick as possible. We've had a housing task force headed up by Alderman Gay, and a lot of heavy hitters are on that task force. Their findings are excellent, and so now the city needs to move forward and work on creating housing. So I'm a supporter of new housing supplies in the city. We are going to make sure that happens. We have great opportunities when we reimagine and rebuild Harbour House, Eastport Terrace, and Robinwood. And so I'm for adding mixed income housing, so some more density. We have to add density and infill where we need it. I think we have some good opportunities for that. I'm looking forward to those opportunities coming through and working with our state partners on that. I'm looking forward to drawing down some federal money for housing, because even our federal government recognises that we have a housing crisis in the country. We're in a good position for that.
Mr. Strawn, on
Could you repeat the
affordable
question?
housing. Yes, bear with me here. Basically, the question was, sorry, I apologize. Do you believe accessory dwelling units will adequately address the number of affordable housing units needed for workers and other folks in need? And basically, what are your solutions for solving the affordable housing crisis in town?
Well, to be honest with you, I don't think there's a very clear-cut solution here, and I don't think the dwellings are going to do anything, because we are 97%, excuse me, 93% built in Annapolis. Affordable housing, I don't know if new affordable housing is ever going to be built here. What I think is the accessory dwellings, they help, and I think that we should have different laws, and I don't know if we can do this in different neighborhoods, because in Ward 1, it's already built. Everything's pretty much built up. In the other wards, you know, it seems like it makes sense. So I don't know if we're allowed to do that or if we can, and I don't know exactly how much it's going to help. I really don't. I haven't done any surveys. I'm not in the same position as Mayor Buckley to get on this subject, but I really think that that we can work on it. I mean, like I said, I'm at a loss because I don't know exactly what's going to work in what ward. And like I said, I do think that we should have different laws for different wards. I don't know if that'll work, but there you have it.
Okay, thank you. There's a related question here about homelessness in Annapolis, and let's start with you, Mr. Strawn. Have you detected an increase in homelessness in Annapolis? What are your thoughts about increasing funding for shelters in the city and for providing economic incentives to lift people out of homelessness?
Yes, you know, I think it's a big problem. I think that you walk down the street and you see a lot more homeless living on the street. It takes away from the city as far as I guess the aesthetics, which shouldn't be the main focus point, but we should have projects to help the homeless. It's a bad situation. We do have the Lighthouse, and do we have any other shelters? How many other shelters do we have?
So the county has a hotel.
Oh, a hotel. Okay. Well, we need to address we need to address that. We need to have a more inclusive plan in place to help the homeless, and we do need to help them not only on a physical level but on a mental level too, because there's a lot of lost souls out there that need our help. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
So our homeless population is part of how we work with the county. So the health department manages our homeless situation in the city. As you know, we've just come out of COVID. So we had a year where a lot of people were displaced. The statistics are not higher for homelessness in the city, but that still doesn't make it okay. We know the names of pretty much every homeless guy that works on Main Street. One of the county initiatives is a hotel we have out on Riva Road, so any homeless person that wants a roof over their head can go to that hotel and find housing. But some people want to live off the grid. Some people want to live near a money source, and that's really what we have downtown. It's people needing to be near the money source. So we work closely with the Lighthouse Shelter because we know that they have some great training programs there. I've graduated people in the culinary arts. I've graduated people who can work in the school system in terms of custodians. So there's different programs that we work with the Lighthouse Shelter on to try to get some people and lift them out of this. But it definitely is something that we're grappling with as a country. When you pull away safety nets, sometimes like the Republican Party does, people are left on the street with
What
no
safety
options.
net did we pull away?
Mr. Strawn, please.
Well, I don't think you believe in it, so that's not really so.
It's not about believing; it's about what's real.
So that is what I come from originally from a country that has safety nets that has a place for people to go, that gives people resources when they're at their low point. In America, we've left people We think that there's a level playing field here, that everybody can lift themselves up. Well, that's not true. You have to help certain segments of the population. None of us know what they're going through, and we have to be there for them.
Thank you. We have a bunch of questions now about public safety and policing in town, and I think I'll ask at least two. I'm trying to kind of synthesize all of these. Let's start with a couple of just questions about crime in the city, and I guess we'll start with you, Mr. Mayor. One of the questions says there have been 24 shootings in town in the last 6 months. What are you going to do about this problem? And let me throw in a second question. What will you do to combat the multiple open-air drug markets in the city? We start with the mayor on that.
So we've instituted, since I came into office, a community policing model. If you don't believe in community policing, that's okay. But what we've been doing hasn't been working. It hasn't been working particularly in the city of Annapolis, and it's definitely not working in the country. We have an excellent police force. This is Annapolis, not Minneapolis. And I'm proud of the work that our officers have done to keep this city safe. Our crime statistics are down. National crime statistics are down. We've had some sensational murders in this city, and they're tragic. But that's not the fault of our police force. It's not the fault of the citizens here. What we've tried to do is tackle crime in a social way. We can't solve crimes without the community. And so we have to build trust in the community. We've been building that trust over the last couple of years. We have solved the fatal crimes. We're going to solve all the murders that have happened this year. That's not going to bring the people back. It's still a sad, terrible situation. But the fact that we're solving crimes means that we're making progress. So we have, and same with last year, we're going to get probably 3 of the 6 or 4, I'd say 4 of the 6 murderers. We'll be able to put them away, which will make those communities safer. Everybody deserves to live in some kind of safety, no matter if you're rich or you're poor. And really, a lot of us are not dealing with the things that the communities that we're trying to protect are. And so I'm proud of the work that our force is doing and the direction that we're heading as a city.
Mr. Strawn, tackling crime.
What we have here is a police shortage. We have shifts that are running at like 6 and 7 when they were running 10 and 12. We don't have a big police presence where they should be. The crime on Main Street shows that they're so brazen now because they know we don't have a lot of police. We don't have enough police to canvass our area. They're so brazen now that instead of breaking in through the back door, they're coming through the front. Right on Main Street, they kicked in the front door. Now, they kicked this door in, wandered around, did whatever they had to do, looted the place, came back out, waited for the police to come, and knew that they were shorthanded. When the police left, they walked right to another place and kicked that door in the front door. So that tells you that our police force needs to be fully funded. Our police force needs to be fully staffed because everyone needs to feel safe out there. They keep saying that our crime is down. Well, they say that our crime's up. I've looked at the statistics, and the violent crimes are up. Now the little petty crimes are down. And a lot of times the petty crimes are down because they're not reported. And when I say they're not reported, when you get to an age, you can only stop, you can correct me if I'm wrong, you can't stop 15 and under. So none of that gets reported. So, you know, the little petty crimes, the bikes being stolen and all that, they're down. But, excuse me, the violent crimes are up. And we need a police force. We need a police force fully staffed, fully funded to protect us. Thank you.
Mayor Buckley would like to respond, and actually we have a couple more questions about police funding and staffing levels, and there's a kind of related question about the inability of many police officers to afford to live in Annapolis. So if with everyone's indulgence, I'd like Mayor Buckley to answer, to speak to that, and Mr. Strawn can respond then in kind.
So police recruitment is a challenge all over America right now. It was a tough year in 2020, and so we have not. We advertise for police officers all the time. We would love people to step forward. I swore in a couple of police officers 2 weeks ago. We are slowly adding police force, but it's hard to fill those positions. I think that this is a great police force to work for. There is less violent crime in this city than a lot of cities around the country, and so we are constantly trying to recruit. If Mr. Strawn has some ideas on how we can do that, I'd love to hear those ideas.
Okay.
But it's a national issue.
He's right. It is a national issue, and the national rate is 10%. We're running a little over 20%. So they sound the alarm at 10%, and we're running it at 20%. So this is not just this is not a national on the national scale. We have defunded the police to where we're 20, and maybe we're getting over that because we did lose another one. He swore in 2. He's right, and we lost another one. But we should have more in the pipeline. I think we have 5 more in the pipeline that's coming down there, but we should have a lot more. And it should have been activated a long time ago. I think it's because he has opposition now that he's starting to see the light, and he's starting to fund the police a little bit. Well,
Good question.
There was a shooting yesterday, and it didn't hit the and it didn't hit anybody. It went through a house and lodged in a door. There was also another death right on the same street, back-to-back murders. Like I said, it's not 400 feet from my house. It's not a good feeling when you lay your head down at night and you think, wow, people are actually being killed within 400 feet of my house. And like you said, they're solving it. Well, they solved the high-profile murder right away. What was he caught within 2 days, whatever? But this last murder, I haven't heard anything about that. I don't know if they're being, if they're doing anything about it. I mean, they're doing something about it, but it's not at the same rate that it was nationally.
I would like to explore a little more just the question of recruiting and what it takes to bring police here, and whether funding levels are adequate. Do you have ideas for recruiting, Mr. Strawn? And then I'd like, let's call this a 30-second question, and then I'll ask Mayor Buckley the same.
Here's the thing. He's been in office for 4 years. I haven't been in office, so I don't know exactly how the recruiting is done. I've never recruited police, but I do know that there's a lot of people, in fact, little kids, even when they grow up big, they all want to be police. So they have to be out there. And I don't know how we're going to recruit them, and I don't know if it's easy or hard. He should. But I do know one thing. We need to get them. No matter what it takes, we need to get these police because they know that we're underfunded. When I say they, the criminals, they know we're underfunded. They're having their way anytime they want it. Go ahead. Sorry.
I guess, Mr. Mayor, we've talked. Mr. Strawn has brought up funding a few times. So, I mean, is the department adequately funded in your view?
There is never not a full amount of police officers on a shift. So we're never understaffed, right? We need to get more police officers recruited. And one of the things that we've done is we've created better conditions for them. So we've upgraded the fleet so that the officers have new cars. The officers have take-home cars. There's incentives for officers who want to live in the city. We would love our officers to live in the city and be just like they were in the old days. So, and then there are a lot of things that we are doing, and so and we're going to continue to do that. And I feel we're going to get close, but it's hard. And Steve's number of 10% is not right.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Oh, yes, it is. Go ahead.
Yeah. Sorry. Well, this question though is actually related to crime, and I think I've already lost track of, but I'll start with the mayor. The city recently opened a couple of resource centers in public housing communities. Talk about the role of those centers and how they might impact the city's ability to fight crime.
So there was a certain segment of the population wanted substations in some of the public housing communities. We thought that was a message of could potentially be perceived as a message of occupation. So we made sure that the resources centers were not just places that our officers signed into and met people in, but that also we could use them for other things, where we could have social workers, we could have drug addiction specialists, we could have job recruitment, we could have expungement classes there. Multiple things that we can do. We're still evolving the programs for those centers, but we believe that just having a substation in the middle of a public housing community sends a bad message. So we're trying to make it them multi-use, and that's why they're called resource centers. We will grow the resource program, and we think it's been a great addition. But our ultimate goal is to get reinvestment in these properties. You can't keep band-aiding public housing. We know that the federal government has slowly defunded and bled public housing dry. The houses have got older, and the money's got less. And conversely, the problems get bigger when you have a population that feels abandoned. So my goal in the next 4 years is to make sure that we get true investment in these areas, and then we also make sure that we can get resources to people, because the best solution to crime is a job. You've all heard that before. So we have multiple initiatives on that front in these communities that we're working on, and I could talk about them, but I have to stop now.
Mr. Strawn?
Well, this is clearly a question for someone who's been in office for a while. Daggone. Tell me the question again.
The question was about the two resource centers that the city recently opened in public housing communities. And basically, what's the role of these centers, and what role do you think they play in helping to combat crime?
Well, it would have to be exactly what he said, because, like I said, this is clearly a question for someone who has been in office, because I don't know where the resource centers are. I don't know, about what they've done. So it's clearly a question for him.
Okay. We have a few questions about climate change, and I feel like we could probably spend an hour talking about climate change, but we have. Let's try to combine a couple of questions, and if we need to go over, we can go over. But is the city prepared for extreme weather? What are your plans for combating climate change? And what can the city do to reduce residents' reliance on cars, on automobiles? Let's start with you, Mr. Strawn.
Alrighty, here again, somebody who was in office for a while that I would know. On climate change, I believe they have a plan in place that they take. They're building a wall that's supposed to be 6 feet tall. I think that this plan that they have in place is a very bad plan, because it takes the garage, the Hillman garage, it gives the Hillman garage away for 30 years. That means not only are they taxing us, are they taxing your children, but they're taxing your children's children. So they're doing this comprehensive plan where they're taking this garage, and this is our cash cow. Make no mistake about it, because the only other cash is through taxes. That's the only other cash that we have coming in. Well, not the only, but it's the biggest one. And when you take this out of circulation, and I'm not just saying for the building part of it, I'm saying for 30 years that they have given this thing away. We're going to be short. We're going to have deficits. In fact, like I said, he's not telling you that there's a $2 million deficit. Then there's a $10 million deficit. And then after that, the next 3 years, it's Katie bar the door. I don't know exactly how much they're going to be, but these are the deficits that are coming. These are the taxes that you're going to have. And make no mistake, he's telling you, he told you before he wasn't going to tax you. I'm telling you now, he's going to tax you again. And it is because of this, because they're doing this plan to stop the rising water and to stop the flooding. And it's not a plan that's working. It's not going to work because it's going to cost us millions, hundreds of millions of dollars more than what it should cost us. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Do you believe in climate change, Steve?
Yes, I do. Hey, whoa. I was at the first Earth Day. I learned about climate change when I was 12 years old. I learned about.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Can't really have cross.
Go ahead. You're right.
I'm just asking.
He asked
that
me a question, and I was answering it.
All right.
I'm glad you believe in it. That's
I
great.
do. I believe in it, and I learned about it way before most people did.
Great. So I can tell you the city's doing multiple things on that front. So first of all, we're all aiming to decarbonise our cities by the 2040 date. We would like to get a more aggressive date than that, 2030, 2035. So that means electrifying the fleet. Our tree canopy, our 1-for-1 tree replacement is also another environmental initiative. Our stormwater management controls. We do multiple things that are definitely recognise and that the city has challenges ahead of it. This waterfront city has 17 miles of coastline that we have to protect, and we're going to start by doing that at the city dock. So that city dock project is going to be funded by the garage. It's a private-public partnership. When we fund it through the garage by ground leasing the land for 30 years, we will control the parking rates. We will control the revenues, so the city will have control of that sort of stuff during that initiative. But what's great about this initiative is that it spends off enough money for us to raise city dock 6 feet roughly, and that 6 feet will not only be a protection against rising sea levels, but it'll also be protection against the next Isabel or the next catastrophic weather event. If this initiative had been done, and what Steven's not mentioning is this initiative, $60 million, if you did $60 million of improvements in your city, you'd have to go to the taxpayer for that. This initiative is going to not cost the local taxpayer $1 because we've been clever on how we finance it. So the garage will be returned to the city in 30 years. We will get the improvement back. The garage will be built for the future. It will have flat floor plates so we can convert it. And so in a short space of time, we put together a deal that addresses climate change for the historic district, partners with the Naval Academy, and we'll put this city in the spotlight on an initiative that a lot of people in the country will look at.
So incredibly, we are very close to the end, and I would like to ask one yes/no question, then one more question, then let you get to your closing statements. As you may know, as many people may know, Annapolis is just one of 2 municipalities in Maryland that have partisan elections rather than nonpartisan elections. Should the city try to get rid of that? How about just a quick yes or no, Mr. Mayor? And
I changed my position on it. I thought it was a good idea, but in the studies that I've done since, I don't agree with it.
okay, Mr. Strawn?
Yes, I do. And if you believe that that is not going to cost us anything to put something in, I've got a bridge I want to sell.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
It's costing us hundreds of millions of dollars in future taxes.
Wow.
And future parking fees.
Okay. I regret that we can't, I'm leaving several things on the cutting room floor here, but this seems like an appropriate last question, and then we'll let you do your closing statements. And I guess we'll begin with Mr. Strawn here. If you could kind of articulate one goal for the next 4 years that will make Annapolis a better city, rather than a hodgepodge, is there sort of one thing at the top of your priority list that you would like to talk about?
The top of my priority list would be getting the youth involved in activities. Because here in Annapolis, we throw money at a leaky roof when the foundation is flooding. We have to get to our children. I know from experience, from coaching, I know that if you take a child, and it doesn't matter how old they are, they can be 17 years old and be in a gang, and you can turn them around if you coach them correctly. And what we're doing is we're throwing a little bit of programs out there, and I'm sure he's going to tell you, be eloquent about how many programs they have and this and that, but it's not enough. It's just, we're just throwing a little bit out there. It's like his green initiative. He puts a couple of laws in to make himself look green, and then he doesn't enforce the law. I was at the protest when the developers that paid him came by, and we stopped a dump truck from going in there. But anyway, let me get back to the youth. The youth is the way. Our youth are the way that we are going to get back on our feet. It takes longer. It takes more time, and you have to be patient. And that's what we don't have a lot of in politics, is patience. But if we keep at digging a good foundation for our youth, we'll go a long ways.
One top priority, Mr. Mayor?
I thought you,
Sorry.
You looked at me.
Oh, I apologize.
Well, we have multiple priorities, and we've sown the seeds for multiple projects that you can all see happen in the next 4 years. But I think housing is a big issue for the whole country, and we need to work out how to get some affordable housing in the city, and mixed income housing. And so I believe we have good opportunities to do that. I want one day for my kids to be able to afford to buy a house here, and it's slowly drifting away from us. So we will work closely on initiatives to make some affordability in this city. It's a high priority for us.
Okay. You each have 3 minutes for a closing statement. And I would just say to the audience, when they're done, please applaud or boo or whatever you feel like. But don't leave your seats, because then we'll get some rousing closing remarks. So I believe Mr. Strawn should close first. 3 minutes.
What we don't understand is how much of our future we're giving away. Like I said, the Hillman Garage, we're absolutely giving it away. When have you heard that it cost the taxpayers absolutely nothing? And that wasn't a lie, okay? He tells you he won't tax you. That's a lie. He's already done it. Dude, is this the fool me twice scenario here? Everything that comes down the pike with him is he either blames someone else, or it just baffles my mind, all of the stuff that he's done. On the crime, he tells you there's no crime out there. There's crime out there left and right. He's green. How is he green when he doesn't enforce his own laws? He sets a tree limit, and he sets a water limit, and it's supposed to be done within 1 day, or fixed within 1 day. When the not Pleasant Point, I forget what it's called, a Parkside Point or whatever, went on for almost 13 days before and I don't even know if they've done anything yet. So if you call yourself a green mayor, be a green mayor. Don't sit there and not enforce the laws and say, hey, I enacted this law, I enacted that law, and not enforce them. And like I was saying, when you sit there and tell me that I'm not green, I went to the first Earth Day. I learned all about this. In fact, my mother used to say, why do I have the weird kid? Why does he have to be the one who is worried about the environment, who is worried about everything? Sorry, did I? Oh, I thought he said something. Sorry. But anyway, in closing, this man has hoodwinked us a lot. He's got us into tax problems. He's got us into police problems. He's got us into, you name it, he's got us into. And he can't get us out. He can't get us out. We're going down a dead-end road, 1,000 miles down a dead-end road, and we need to turn around. I feel like I'm flailing here because I am. There's just so much to do. There's just so much to say. I'm sorry, I'll end right there.
Mr. Mayor, 3 minutes.
I want to thank everybody for letting me be the mayor for the last 4 years. And the question is going to be, did he do the job he said he was going to do over the last 4 years? I've learned a lot. I'm a better person after these 4 years. I still have a lot to learn. But we have set the city in a good direction. I truly believe that. The question would be, if Steven Strawn was your mayor, what would have happened in the last 4 years? He would have had a different response to COVID. He doesn't believe in the science.
Yes, I do.
Oh,
Yes, I do.
Mr. Strawn, please.
Well, he's lying.
No, Mr.
He's
Strawn.
always lying.
Mr. Strawn, please.
Okay. All right. I'm
Well,
sorry.
I would say you don't believe in the science because you're too scared to get a vaccine.
No, you're lying.
Mr.
You're
Strawn.
absolutely lying. This
All
man.
right.
This is what he is. He's a flim-flam man, and he's
Okay.
got everybody baffled here. No, this is not okay. He cannot sit here and lie to the public out here and get away with it.
All
Just
right.
because he has a cool demeanor, and yes, sir.
Let
yes,
him
sir.
continue, please.
Okay, go ahead.
So if Steven Strawn was mayor, more people would be dead in this city because
He's a
his
liar.
policies.
Okay, Mr. Strawn.
No, this is. I'm sorry.
Because you would have had different policies, that's all I'm saying.
No, I
and not
wouldn't.
only
No, I wouldn't. I think the policies were great that were put
All
in
right.
place.
No?
Exactly.
All right.
His own lawyer.
Let's
His
let
own
the
lawyer
mayor
handles
let's let the
arson.
mayor give his
Okay.
closing
All right.
remarks.
I'm
please.
sorry.
And then again, and I like that I'm a mayor that gets Democrats and Republicans that support me. Steven Strawn protested his own governor in the reopen Maryland protests. So
Yes, I
he
did.
wanted the businesses
Yes, I
to
did.
open earlier
Yes,
than
I
we
did.
did. So he would have had different policies to me. So should he have
When
been
Home Depot can
Hey,
open up, so
Mr.
can
Strawn.
the 5 things.
Please, Mr. Strawn.
All right. All right.
So he would have made different decisions over the last 4 years. We have set the city in a good course. I'm surprised at how well we've done on multiple levels. But I know that one thing that we focused on besides the environment, the business, and the one Annapolis piece of the city is we focused on infrastructure. Look around you. There are more roads being resurfaced. There are more main lines being replaced. There are more sidewalk expansions and replacements happening in the city. And that's just some of the infrastructure that we've had. We fixed the finances. We have major capital projects on the horizon for this city that is going to make this city, and I truly believe, one of the best cities in America. It already is a great city, but it's going to be even better when we finish the city dock, for example. We have one of the best lifestyles in America. We have a first-class library, and now a first-class pool, first-class tennis courts, first-class senior center, first-class boys and girls club, 2 great yacht clubs, great water access in this city. We live in a city, but we have to look out for people that are not as fortunate as us. And I've been doing that. I'm working on that every single day. I'm working on a One Annapolis platform. I've still got lots to do on that front. I'm asking for you guys to keep me in office for another 4 years so that we can make this city one of the best and most inclusive cities in America. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to both candidates. Whether you've loved what you've heard, whether you've hated what you've heard, it takes a lot to put yourself out there and put yourself before the public and ask for their votes. So they deserve a hand just for that. And now, to close us out, we bring you Jackie Alsup, President of the Anne Arundel County NAACP.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Jacqueline Boone Alsup, and I serve as the president of the Anne Arundel County branch of the NAACP. And please, let's give these 2 gentlemen another hand of applause. And we thank them for their participation in this forum, and you deserve our gratitude, our respect, and our appreciation for your desire to serve. We especially thank our audience for participating in tonight's forum. And forums like this one are important because they help to educate voters about candidates and issues and help voters to go to the polls with knowledge and confidence to make informed decisions about voting. Thank you again for your participation tonight. Please join me also to acknowledge and thank Josh Kurtz, our excellent moderator, the congregation of Nephes Israel and staff, and our hard-working forum coordinators, Vera Hirth. Vera, raise your hand, Vera. Vicki Jordan, and our league volunteers and the NAACP volunteers. Tonight's forum will be posted in its entirety with a link from the League's website, which you will find printed on your program. We encourage you to share the video with others, family, friends, neighbors, and colleagues, and please remember to vote on Tuesday, November the 2nd. Thank you so much, and have a great evening.
Hey, may I ask you for a rematch? But us debating, just one-on-one, and not a forum like this.